Hello and welcome to the first edition of the AG podcast. My name is Elp, and I'm joined with two guests. I'm here with Dylan and Mazza. Go and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm
Hi, so I'm.
Dylan.
Go ahead.
I am Dylan. I am the captain of Cataclysm.
And Mazza, so I do commentary for Amateur Gamer. Just finished up doing GM for North America.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about the PTR changes, and then we'll talk a bit about the upcoming World Cup and how it can affect the Overwatch League and contenders. So let's look at the patch notes. So we have Brigitte getting a nerf to her shield from 600 HP to 500 HP. Like, do you think it's like a big change or?
Hmm.
It's definitely going to play a factor. It's not a big nerf, but it definitely will make her more vulnerable
Yeah, for
against burst
sure.
damage. Just as soon as that shield gets burned down, it takes away her shield bash ability and it makes her more vulnerable. So is she still going to be played? Yes, quite a bit, but it is a step in the right direction for her.
Yeah, like I feel like she's probably too good at 1v1ing, so you know she can't like run up to people as easily because she has to realize that her barrier can go a bit quicker.
I think that for the Brigitte, like from going from 600 to 500, it will make her like players have to play more smart with her, like instead of like just rushing in there, like when using ultimate. I think this is also like what you guys said in the step in the right direction. And if this ever happens, like say her ultimate gets like nerfed or something, I think that would make Brigitte really balanced in the game. Because right now, like the 600 to 500 is good, yeah. But like, say when Brigitte uses her ultimate, she's pretty much invincible. Like,
Yeah, she does need to be burned down for sure. It's also just because when she's doing that 1v1 and she's doing damage, she is also getting health recovered for every hit she makes. Well, not every
yeah,
hit, but you know how it's like 3 seconds per like
yeah.
some healing that she gets
And
for
every
it.
time she hits for like the 3 seconds, and like a teammate's around her, they get health. So,
Yeah,
or do
I
they?
feel
Yeah.
like she's close to being balanced. Like there's
Hmm.
definitely a step in the right direction. I think she's almost close to being at the the perfect stage. Like, she's not that far off.
Hmm.
Anything else on Brigitte? Do you think?
Mm,
No, not really.
not really.
All right,
Especially
so
once we get into the Torb rework in a second here, you'll see why she is definitely in a better place now, balance wise.
yeah. But we do have the McCree buff. His combat roll is going from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. What do you think of this?
That is a huge thing for McCree, because
Yeah, I agree.
especially against dive, say if a Winston dives on him, a McCree can literally roll twice, like back, in the
Yeah,
amount of time
like
that Winston's diving him.
yeah, like I feel like you can probably shoot that many bullets, then like you can just like roll nearly immediately. Like if you're like taking your time to like be
Yeah,
precise, you can just like constantly just get like really fast reloads. And I feel like people are overlooking that. And like you see all these days on YouTube, people saying, "Oh, like McCree is dead, like he needs a rework." And no, I don't think so. After this buff,
no,
I think
he's.
it's
I think
it's
he's totally fine now. He is good now once he gets this buff.
yeah.
It might even
I
be a
think
bit too strong, honestly. I think it's incredibly strong, like you were saying. Just the fact that like
Hmm.
you're basically always going to have a full ammo, essentially. Well, not always full, but you're never going to need to spend the extra few seconds to reload. You're going to have roll available.
Yeah,
If you're picking your shots properly. And the other thing is, Blizzard was really smart here. They could very easily have touched his flashbang, made it a lower cooldown. They decided no. There's already enough CC in this game right now. Just leave it at what it is, and
yeah.
and adjust the roll, which
and
is a
I
good move.
think, yeah, I think the role will be good for McCree because McCree is not that like mobile compared to like Soldier or Tracer or Genji, and this is the right step for them to take to buff his role, make it from 8 to 6 seconds.
It's also with whenever there's a change to cooldown like this, one aspect that often gets overlooked is the ult charge, which obviously you're going to have more shots. You're going to be hitting, presumably you're going to be hitting more shots. They're going to be more ult charge for you. So it's going to be 12 p.m. More often.
I already feel like you get that so fast. So do you think maybe like when this patch goes through, do you think maybe he'll need like a nerf in his like ult charge?
Blizzard, there's been many instances where there's been characters changed and the ult hasn't been affected. Not affected, but not hasn't been the ultimate values, for charge hasn't been reworked at all.
But also, we have to think about that McCree is you have to really practice his aim, and if you hit all your shots, you'll get your ultimate very quickly. So probably like in the GM top 500 areas, probably yes, you will get your ultimate very quickly, but like in the diamonds and below, it will probably stay the same, depending on how good the player is.
Yeah, even in diamond and below, I still expect people to get it just a bit quicker, just because they're going to have that additional reload speed. But yeah, it's not going to make a huge difference. But in the higher ups, I think it definitely will. It is a pretty big buff for him.
And any more comments you like want to make on McCree?
I'm pretty happy with the way he is now.
Yeah.
I still don't like Deadeye as an ultimate at all. I just give him a horse and let them like run around on now for a bit. But I'm cool with it.
So, yeah. Me too. But actually, one question that kind of does come to mind, like, okay, if his role is getting a lower cooldown, he's like, slightly more mobile. Do you think anyone that really needs to like be buffed or nerfed in like terms of mobility?
I think this might be a little bit strange one. I think Hammond's mobility for a tank might be a bit too high. I would like 1 second cooldown when he leaves to go back into ball form. And that's it. Like I wouldn't touch him any other way except for that. I just think,
especially because like he has no headshot hitbox. So like he does, but like it's really hard to hit. So
yeah,
he can take a lot of damage.
But also saying about the Hammond thing, D.Va is also very mobile of an off tank. So saying like. Say people play Hammond as a main tank, like in Overwatch League and contenders. I've seen that.
But with D.Va, you can make the call out and say D.Va no boost, or Winston no jump, and that's the cue to focus fire. Whereas with Hammond, it's like no one's gonna call out Hammond no ball unless he's hacked.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, like what I've seen on Reddit like recently is people saying does D.Va need like a massive rework, and a lot of the comments I do see saying like they just need like another off tank to contest high ground. Then another comments are saying that maybe the game's too reliant on having a high ground off tank. What do you think about that?
But you can also use Hammond as an off tank. That's the thing. You can either use him as an off or main tank.
But would you think that like D.Va needs like a bit of toning down?
No,
I think
in my opinion.
Strong. No, I think he's in a relatively good place. All things considered, I think that it's very difficult to really properly change her right now. Without making her useless, that is.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we should move on to one of the two big reworks, which is the Pharah one. Now, the Pharah one's it's not as massive as the Torb one, but it's still pretty big. So we have the Concussion Blast going from 12 to 9 seconds. We have a attack speed increase, so the time between shots is now 0.75 instead of 0.9. The damage has been redistributed, so like the splash damage has gone from 80 to 65, and impact has gone from 40 to 55. But if you're to hit an impact shot, it's the two added together. The knockback is reduced by 20, and the self knockback is increased by 25. So Is this a buff or a nerf? Because like there's divided opinions on this.
In my opinion, it's a nerf to Pharah. Because what Pharah is meant for is splash damage. Like heavy splash damage. It's kind of like Junkrat in a way. The thing is that Pharah is going to be an even higher skill level of a character to use now, since her splash time is getting nerfed, and you have to hit your shots on direct impact now, most of the time. And I think this will be a very hard time for console era players, and even especially PC era players. Like, I'm not saying she's completely dead, but she's going to be in, like, not as used as much as she was.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
that in conjunction with, like, we already saw McCree, Soldier, Bastion get their range buffed May,
and May, yeah.
And now, and just now we saw even more McCree and Soldier buffs. Even Orisa now, her spread is we didn't touch on it, but her spread's better. And Torb as well. We're going to go into that later on. Again, another decent counter to it, and especially because this is again Torb. We're going to go into that later, but it's if the Torb's shooting at the Pharah, the turret will go after her as well. It's actually a huge thing that I haven't seen anybody really talk
about. My opinion on the Pharah, I think it's definitely a big nerf. So let's just go into it. So a lot of people, I would say, would consider, Pharah like a long-range damage dealer, and she can't do that as successfully because, the splash damage is being reduced. So you'd have to play her more up close, right? But with all these buffs happening, with the hit scan buffs, with like even the Torb changes and other changes, like it's harder for her to like, be up in people's faces. And like with the recent like Mercy nerfs, like she can't get as healed with a pocket, so she's a lot more vulnerable, I feel. And even though she has like a higher rate of fire now, like you're gonna be taking your time between shots to be precise, because you need to hit precise shots, or you're not doing like as much damage as you used to, because that splash damage nerf is actually massive. So I really just see it as a pretty big nerf. But there are a lot of Pharah players out there that are saying to be like a really big buff, and people are just not realizing it.
Yeah, there was a girl on I think with Overwatch Central, GM Pharah player the other day, and she was going on how she actually thinks it's a buff to her. Yes, mobility wise, it is. But even with that decreased concussive blast cooldown, I just don't see her getting like extreme value with it. I think you could have taken it in other directions, such as decrease the knockback of concussive blasts on opponents by making it stronger for you, and just make the cooldown even shorter, just so she has even more mobility. Or even the rocket jump thing that you could lower the cooldown on that as well, just to make up for these changes.
Yeah, like another thing, because to be potentially less damage, you're going to get your ult a lot slower, which, if you're doing a lot of damage, like especially in console, like you could get your ult really fast and it'd be kind of hard to shut down at times. So you think her ult's now in a good state, or does it need changing?
Well, Barrage is it's an all-in ability, I mean, you pop Barrage, you're expecting to die, but you want to pick up, either trade or get like a very important trait, such as a Zarya who was grab with the Barrage before you die, or pick up 2 before dying yourself. Barrage obviously has extreme potential. I mean, you can damage through a Transcendence with it. One of the few ultimates that can do that. So I think Barrage is fine, to be honest with you. It's more just how we really have to see these changes in effect in competitive play and in tournaments before we can really, especially on console. Console is going to be a whole other story than PC.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it affects console, especially like the upcoming like AG leagues and stuff, because there's a lot of like Pharah players, especially on console, and like some of them like are mostly like Pharah one trick. So if they like don't have the ability to play that hero anymore, like it's gonna be like a big hit to them.
But I mean,
think
if they can land their direct, if they are extremely good at landing direct rocket hits, in theory, they're going to be better with these changes.
Especially if they can get used to the fire rate adjustment. If they can like hit more shots and actually be precise with them, like that's definitely a buff, no question.
The problem with the splash damage though is like when you have groups of enemies who like you would otherwise be dealing like double splash damage to, that number is going down, like much lower now than what it once was.
Yeah, like the mercy damage boost, I think it takes the new damage up to what is the old damage, just about. And like the old one, you could like get 2 shots with a damage boost, even though it was splash. But now it's to a 3 shot. But without the boost, it takes like 4 shots with splash damage, which is a bit ridiculous. Like that's a massive nerf if you think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have to land 4 splash damage shots, you're really not doing your job as far though to begin with.
Yeah, true. But anything else on Pharah?
I have a couple things to say. I think it just for meta-wise. For console, Pharah is obviously not going to be used as much, or probably almost. I don't want to say never, but like she's probably like rarely used as probably like say Reaper in like this meta. And I think it's going to be hit scan dominated again and who knows, it may honestly go back to triple tank with a hit scan. It may go back to that stage.
Well, the funny thing is, right? If you see multi tank again, well, who's decent against multi tank? Well, you have Pharah. You'll see teams run Pharah Doomfist to counter the multi tank. Throw in Ana as well, and you're kind of in a good spot. So it's this weird circle of life kind of thing we have going on here.
So are we going to see like a multi-meta after these patches come out?
We are in a multi-meta right now. I mean, there's not really a defined position right now to describe it. There's many viable things. In the World Cup qualifiers, we saw every hero get played. A decent amount, even Symmetra a bit, but Sin is Sim.
Well, on console specifically, I still think GOATS is still like the go-to, and with Pharah being nerfed, do you think it's just going to make people run GOATS a lot more, knowing that one of the counters is not as viable?
GOATS, Pharah is still going to be decent against multi-tank though, especially with the higher damage rate or fire rate. I just think that in matchmaking, you don't really see teams all switch to counter a GOATS composition. You're not going to see that one player who really likes playing Tracer or swap to a Doomfist a lot of the time. But in more coordinated play, you will definitely see teams once they know how to counter it, and as we saw, in some World Cup games, a lot of the lower tier teams, such as like Poland or what have you, they'll run GOATS like nonstop. But the good teams who can counter it, well, they're going to counter it and they're going to walk all over you. So GOATS can only get you so far.
Yeah. You think that's about it on the Pharah stuff, or do you have any last comments?
I think I have nothing else really to say about it. Just we have to see it definitely in practice on console where there's no PTR and to really judge it.
All right. So there's 2 more changes before the big Torbjorn rework. So we have Orisa, who had her spread reduced from 1.5 to 1.2. I mean, it's really handy for Orisa players. I don't think it's going to be like meta changing or anything. So I don't want to like go into detail on that. Soldier, he has more shots until he hits his max spread. Again, we were kind of talking about how hit scans are going to be like really viable. I don't think we should really dive into that again, but let's just go into it with the Torbjorn rework. So his headbox has been reduced a bit by 10%. His primary fire moves faster, like 60 to 70 per second, the projectile speed. The reload time has gone from 2.2 to 2. The turret now hits whoever you hit with your primary fire. Now with the secondary fire, the time between shots is now 0.6 seconds from 0.8, but the damage has gone from 150 to 125. The reload again is the same. The spread randomizer has been readjusted. The Forge Hammer has a radius increase, and then the turret. How the new one's going to work. So it's now a thrown projectile. It automatically builds over 3 seconds. It no longer has different levels, so when you throw it out, it's just going to be a level 2. It's still going to be the same damage as the previous level 2, but the health's gone down by 50. There's a 5-second cooldown when it's deployed, and a 10-second cooldown when it's destroyed in combat. You can't deploy a new turret if it's in combat, or while the turret is firing. If the turret is taking damage within 3 seconds, now able to destroy turret using interact input, now will complete self-building once deployed, even if Torbjorn's eliminated. He has a new ability, which is going to replace the armor pack, which lasts for 5 seconds on a 12-second cooldown, which gives him 150 armor and increases his attack, movement, and reload speed. So it's basically Molten Core, but on a 12-second cooldown. But he still has an ultimate, which is called Molten Core, but he's seen clips on this all over Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, where he basically shoots lava all on the ground over 6 seconds with his arm. And it has 130 damage, but it's 190 damage to people who have armor, which is like ridiculous. And we were touching on that with Brigitte, why she's going to be a little bit more balanced in the current meta. So let's go straight into it. That was a bit of a mouthful, but yeah. What's there to say about Torb?
When you throw the turret out and it has to construct itself, is that technically level 1?
Well, it's just gonna be like a level 2 all around.
Okay, so, but does it? Do you know? I'm actually curious now. Does it say level 2 on the screen when the turret's up, or does it just say turret?
No, it will say level 2. It will say level 2 turret. I watched XQC. He was in the PTR. He was testing Torb and stuff. And when he tossed his turret and stuff, it will say level 2 turret with the amount of health.
Oh wow, well, that needs to be changed. That's there's no level 1 anymore. So it just
there's no level 1.
There should be level 1 when you throw it out, and then once it finishes building,
that'd
be another change.
Also, for Torbjorn's new ult, it's gonna be the most overpowered ultimate in the game when you combine it with Graph. I'm gonna be really honest. You just freaking get that Molten Core in there, freaking holy shit. Everyone's gonna die.
Can eat it, and Genji can deflect it.
Yeah, that is true. Well, if they don't have a D.Va or a Genji, you're
and if your team is for some reason running a Symmetra, you can teleport out of it, but
most likely you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Quick question. Can it heal Transcendence? Wait, it can heal through it?
Yeah, because it does. You said it would be 190 to armor. Transcendence heal is for 300.
Yeah, I was just wondering that. All right, well, that's good. It's not going to be that game breaking, but anyway, yeah.
Console was
still very strong though.
Yeah. So
so I think it's this is a very, very good change for him. I really like the turret change. It makes him just in the fight so much more of an active role. No longer having to beat his turret with a hammer to upgrade it. Which first of all, that makes no sense just from any sort of building perspective. But can you imagine if I hit my my 52-inch TV with a hammer and it grew to I don't know, a 60-inch? I don't know.
It's Overwatch for you. Overwatch is never realistic. It has never ever been realistic.
But yeah, I mean, I really do like the changes. Honestly, something very small that no one really has touched on. Oh, actually, I do want to touch on this big aspect before. So very similar to Hammond, he gates all charge when his ultimate does damage. What do you guys think about that? Because I think that's incredibly strong. Just being able to build your all charge by doing damage with your ultimate.
I'm not sure what to say about that, honestly.
Well, I mean, for a while, Arisa had that, where if she had, it was a bug though, where if she had
Yeah.
supercharge her active and she was doing damage, it would also give her additional ult charge. Hammond right now, and Blizzard has never addressed this either, to my knowledge. This is the fact that getting a kill with Minefield gets you more ult charge. So Torb's right now currently on PTR build. You can honestly get like additional, I don't know, 20% probably, ult charge with damage with your ultimate while it's active, which I think is insane. Like honestly insane. And there's another thing, right? We talked about ult charge earlier being reworked. I still think his ult charge rate is the same from his previous work.
Yeah, with these changes, like he like in theory, like
more DPS, right? So it doesn't even make sense from a balance perspective. So I think he's very strong right now.
But would he be in the meta, or would he be like a niche pick? Or
I think
what would you say about
going
that?
to be good against goats. I think he's going to be decent against dive. If a Winston does on top of him, he's going to pop overload, whatever ability is called. Get that additional armor, the additional health, and just shotgun shot the Winston in the face a couple of times and kill him.
Yeah, well, we'll really see how it's going to play out, but there's many ways to look at it. Like, he could be, the most overpowered here in the game, or he could be, just as niche as far up, but not like a complete throw pick or anything. Like, we'll have to see how that plays out.
I think on console, just we're getting this relating this to us, is I think he's going to be quite good on console. He already had to be nerfed on console earlier on in the game's lifespan before they rebuffed the turret. I believe.
But I mean, that kind of had to be done. To be fair, they did the same with Symmetra's turrets as well. But I don't know how it is on console compared to the PC, like her new reworked turrets. I don't know if it's the same or not.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. There are only 3 of them, right? And they
there's 3
damage and a lot of stuff on them. So I couldn't quite tell you about that. But yeah, I mean, just overall, I think it's a much better character.
For sure. But again, we really have to see how it plays out, because like, I swear a lot of people were saying, Symmetra, it's gonna be like ridiculous when she comes into the game, but we haven't really seen her, like, change the meta. Like, we've seen her like in a few instances like do some interesting stuff, like we saw in like the Australian contenders match a while back with that whole Bastion strat on attack. Yeah, on the attack, yeah. But well, it's tough to see if he's gonna work his way into some like comps, whether he's meta or not. But
when Symmetra was on PTR, her primary fire was broken though. It was able to get like insane amounts of charge with that thing and just melt through everyone. And when they changed that, people dialed back their opinions quite a bit. But I still think this is a more successful rework than the Symmetra one. I still think Symmetra is just such a weird character, and I think the rework with Symmetra, just to get a bit off topic here, it did a very interesting job. I think making Teleporter a cooldown ability was a smart idea. I think it was handled quite well. I would honestly increase the radius of Teleporter just a bit. I don't think it's quite far enough.
I agree with that.
I would actually make it so that like shooting teammates who fire through her ultimate barrier did additional damage. Controversial, just a bit, but I think it could make her just a bit better, just a bit.
Anything else in the Torb stuff?
I'm gonna miss armor just a bit, but
I mean, we still have Brigida for that.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, but anything else?
No. Dylan, you got anything?
For the Torb rework, obviously it is a really great thing for Torb. I think Torb will be like used a lot more, especially on defense. For example, 2 CP on Hanamura. He's already used quite a bit there, and he'll be used much more there. And like just in general,
payload in general, I think You could get
Halo,
away with maybe even like replacing a Bastion on the
Bastion.
cart now with a Torb.
Yeah, that is true. I've seen Torb played on payload. It is really great. And I don't think you will need the Bastion anymore. Literally, but the thing is, I don't want it to go to like that type of meta again, like it was in season 4. Oh my god, the Bastion meta, I hated
Oh,
that.
actually, that's
Well,
just brought something to mind. Actually, so let's just say Tor becomes meta, and like people
Oh
set up new
no.
payloads and whatnot, right? So, do you think that like for defenses, people have to defend closer to spawn to stop it being set up, or how does
Um,
this happen?
hmm.
well, once the turret goes down, there is a good amount of time now. If I read the patch notes right and I watched gameplay properly, where if the turret dies and he doesn't like cancel it himself, it goes on a relatively significant cooldown where he can't just like put another one up immediately. So I don't. I think he's balanced. I think it's very fair. I think all his cooldowns
Mm,
are long enough, and it all makes sense. Like he can't even
mm,
cancel the turret if it's taking fire
yeah.
after a few seconds after it took fire, which is huge. Just like really, Blizzard clearly put a lot of thought into how they were balancing it. Also, just relating to the season 4 Bastion with the insane Ironclad, that was nerfed after I think it was like a couple of days on PC. And of course, us console peasants had to wait like a month, and we had to deal with you know Invincible, Bastion, Omnicrisis console edition. Like,
Yeah, and like during that time, even a Nano Blade Genji was not able to kill him. Like it had to literally take at least 3 to 4 ults to kill him. Like that's such a waste of ults, and it's just stupid. Like honestly, I think that time it's actually worse than Brigitte. Imagine if the Bastion meta is in, it would be much worse than
I agree with
Brigitte.
that. I
Imagine if
completely agree.
Bastion's changes with Brigitte in the game.
Oh no.
And the Torb changes. Oh boy, that would be
Let's just not
something.
talk about that. That's like
At
no.
that time, I think Ree would actually have to institute like a hero ban. Like straight up. If I wasn't around for AG, if AG was even around like that early on, but if we had the OP Bastion in the game, I would honestly expect our organization to be smart enough to be like, hey, listen, they've already nerfed this OP stupid hero on PC. Let's just ban him on
Yeah, true.
here for now.
But I'm really curious that I brought it up, like because Brigitte kind of like pushes the team and Bastion stationary. How would you play a Brigitte?
Just keep on giving Bastion armor packs when he takes damage. Just there you go. That's how you win the game.
Yeah, and then you have like the Tracer pulse bomb nerf too. Like you just can't counter it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else on the Torb changes?
No.
Yeah, I think we just have to wait and see what happens because
Mhm.
like we could talk more about Farah because like we've seen how she is already in the game and we kind of know what her changes will do, but we can't really see where Torb's going to go. So, do you want to talk about the World Cup now?
Yeah, let's do it. We could
All
talk
right.
about qualifiers before we go into like the final 8 BlizzCon teams.
Yeah,
If you
sure.
guys are
Let's go
familiar
to
with them.
qualifiers if one. So,
All right. The Korean qualifier, dude. Finland versus South Korea may have literally been, I'm not even joking, bro, the best game of Overwatch. Definitely the best World Cup game of Overwatch ever. Right down to the wire, tie game after the nonsense restart in Ronaldo, which Finland managed to overcome and take that game. To have it go to the third map on Nepal, winner takes all, 99-99. South Korea is about to win. Finland comes back. They miraculously retake. Oh my God, guys, Finland's actually going to do what they're going to slay the giant. This is insane. South Korea, by some miracle on home territory, come marching back. They get the stall going on. Some guy on Finland, this is actually Finland's big mistake in that last fight. They swapped one of their supports onto Soldier to get back. He couldn't do enough. They didn't have the support. Jonak with the transcendence, and South Korea manages to never lose in the World Cup. But what a fantastic game that was. Um, Yeah, I
Yeah,
just can't, I can't hype that game up enough, man. That was so.
exactly. But I want to talk about Russia. Like, do you think anyone from the Russian team could maybe get a shot at contenders or Overwatch League?
I think I heard Shadowburn was having issues finding a new league team, which the thing
Yeah,
with Shadowburn is even if he's not a starter, just having him in your 12-man roster to constantly like scrim against with internal scrims, like what better person to constantly help your main roster train than playing against one
exactly.
of the best. He's one of
And
the best. Well,
he's someone
far,
who can push you as
yeah.
well, like really hard to get that starting spot for sure.
Oh,
But I heard a lot about Shao, who I think is like a main tank player. I heard a lot of great things about him, and he did really well in the World Cup, like standing toe to toe with Fraggy. And like, yeah, people do criticize Fraggy like a good bit, but like he's still a really solid like main tank. I mean, we saw in the Korea series after all, like he was definitely
he
giving Fate
had some
some trouble.
monster shatters, man. Just absolutely, like the game of his career, like by far, man. One of the best performances on a tank since maybe like Bumper for Runaway, like recently. Just I think it was Bumper anyway. Which may be wrong, um,
Yeah, but
but yeah. And the thing with Russia, man, you gotta. It's really unfortunate that they were in that group because that was such a difficult group, and if it had have been in the Paris qualifier, same with Brazil. Actually, there was a good chance that Russia could have beaten Team UK or Brazil could have
yeah,
beaten Team UK and could have moved on.
yeah, I feel the French qualifier was really underwhelming. Like, okay, like maybe not the matches, but like the teams in it, like France and UK. I don't think they're like that amazing. So you throw any other team in there, and they could have easily gotten to BlizzCon.
Yeah, yeah. I think Brazil absolutely could have. Even maybe even Japan, who Japan came second in
Mm.
Pacific qualifiers in a region that has a decent number of Korean teams in it. Teams who obviously are not good enough to compete in the
Mm.
main contenders,
Yeah,
Korea.
like Japan's no slouch. Like they can like easily have taken any other group. Like it was just a really unfortunate group they have to deal with. And yeah, Russia I think is pretty underrated, and they could be a dark horse if they were playing, but they had South Korea and Finland, so I mean, not much you can really do there.
Yeah, third year in a row where Russia has been just had to face South Korea and nothing they could do about it.
Just didn't want to say anything about the Korean qualifier.
Korea, Korea's lucky that the meta should be shifting in time for BlizzCon because they have not looked the best. Uh, this particular Korean roster, anyway, on this meta, they lost to Runaway in an exhibition, and then to have Finland take them to the limit like that. Um, yeah, South Korea has never looked so vulnerable or as vulnerable as they do now. And we also saw uh, some members of a Korean team who are with NYXL, obviously not look very comfortable against Philadelphia Fusion in the Overwatch League semifinals. So
Actually, I'm wondering now because it's something came to mind. So, do you know if the patch, like they're gonna play in this patch for BlizzCon, or are they playing like whatever patch is around at the time?
it will be BlizzCon is early November, and
Yeah.
they should be playing different patches. They absolutely
Okay.
should.
So yeah, I think that really does help Korea a lot because I feel like they've adapted to patches a lot quicker than most other teams. Like you saw a lot of the friendlies like last year, like you'd see Flower playing the Junkrat, and then again you'd see like in the World Cup and then the Overwatch League season one that Junkrat was a pretty popular pick, and you see Jake Cook really excel in that hero. So this could be like a saving grace for South Korea. Like if the meta does change, like they could win it all. But if the meta stays the same, they could definitely lose it to USA, like in the
Yes,
semifinals for sure.
we should probably talk about next. And
Yeah, we should go into that right now. So USA and Canada were the teams going through that,
so this
and
is both teams in this one were hardcore taking advantage of bugs in the game. So Winston obviously dealing 50 damage per jump regardless of where he landed, and Hammond's pile driver dealing double damage. Sorry, it wasn't double damage. It was dealing maximum pile driver damage to somebody who was on the outside of the radius, assuming he hit somebody else with it as well. So Jane, the coach for Team Canada, made a video about this, basically explaining how teams are going to be abusing this, and there should be an emergency patch for the qualifier. There wasn't, so we saw. I mean, Muma on Winston was just absolutely phenomenal. XQC looked good despite not playing in a organized setting like that since he played on Goats actually for a brief period of time in Contenders Trials just for the lulls.
Yeah, like he got a lot of praise for his main tank play in the World Cup. Like he's a bit shaky when it started off, and like in the USA match, you could definitely see that quality he once had. And like there has been discussion, should he come back to Overwatch League? Would he get another chance at it? Because he could definitely get a spot there, like no question about it. But is he committed? Would a team offer him a spot? It's a bit question marks on that.
I think he likes his stream too much, man. Like honestly,
Yeah,
I think he makes so much money streaming, and it's his schedule, it's his time. He makes all the roles there, so definitely tough for him. Another thing I do want to touch on just regarding the Canada USA match is, yes, it was a 3-1 storyline, and yes, Canada got absolutely annihilated on King's Row, but they pretty much did the same thing that happened to them on Temple of Anubis if it hadn't have been for a really lucky Diva bomb near the end of that first point hold for Canada. And then Ronaldo was Canada had some chances at point A and point B in overtime to close it out on defense, but USA just kept coming in and got some pretty big picks. So despite it being 3-1, it definitely wasn't a blowout. It was much closer than it may appear on paper. And Brazil, we talked about how if they were in the Paris qualifier, they could advance. Brazil really impressed me. And one of the advantages they had was, 5 members of that starting lineup, maybe 4, all play together in the Contenders South American team, and they dominate in that league, dude. That's actually one team that they dominate their region by such a wide margin. They should just play in North American Contenders Trials and just see how they do.
Or they should just mix the 2 regions together, maybe.
Oh, before I go, I want to say something about the Canada versus USA thing. For Canada versus US, obviously, just by looking at this group, it was obviously going to be Canada and USA no matter what. I don't want to say that Brazil had a big chance, but I think overall Canada and USA just had the better chances of getting in. And USA obviously ran Sinatra on main tank.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was a very good strategy because they still had Muma on the Winston, so you're basically running double main tank in that composition, and basically allowing the Ryan to be way more DPS focused. It was a good
not only
strategy.
that, Brazil, they probably lack the stage experience that USA and Canada have because a lot of their rosters have been formed from the Overwatch League, and they've had several months of experience, 40 games for most of the players on stage.
Week
in, week out.
LAN,
play on LAN. And in the Blizzard Arena where they have been playing for all those games. So they're used to it. And Brazil, for not having that much stage experience, they did really well. And if they had more stage experience, they could have definitely upset teams. I mean, you saw Norway, I think it was Norway, they took a map off USA, which shows there can be some ups. Yeah.
Brazil took a map off USA. They won Junkertown against them, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I must be thinking the wrong team. But yeah, it shows those top 2 teams, they're vulnerable to some lower teams. All they really need is just that more experience, and then they can definitely, compete with the best. But I don't really want to touch too much more into the USA and Canada stuff. I think we should just go over the rest of the bracket first before we dive into it. So the Thailand qualifier, we had China and Australia. And there was
the fall from grace for the once great esport nation of Sweden.
Yeah, it's really sad. They had a decent roster. That a lot of people come from Overwatch League, a lot of the contenders talent, and it's just a shame to see that happen. I was actually surprised Coco or Swoosh didn't get the spot and he had Reinforce, which honestly was really nice to see Reinforce play and all, but was he will let them down? Could they have done better with Swoosh or Coco?
Well, Coco, I don't. It's tough, man. I don't think Coco would have been very much better. Um, but like with Reinforce, yeah, he looked great in that Overwatch All Star Game commentators or staff matchup,
It'd be
But
so hard to kill Plat still, let's be fair.
yeah, so uh, not really that surprised that he was having a hard time. And Australia, they did pretty well, man. It was the other team though. Was it Netherlands or no? It was Denmark.
Denmark?
Denmark, man. I was rooting for them, dude, because they could honestly have advanced. I believe that was the qualifier they were in.
Yeah, like I missed like the last day or two or so. I was like really busy, but I heard there's like really like close matches that came out. Literally, it's like the last matches and the last maps and like really intense. And I saw like the Denmark's first few games and like they're really good. And, like you can only just imagine if you had like Craggy or DeFran in that team, like they would go a lot further, and they could honestly be dark horses for the World Cup if they were in that roster. But
Had the Fran, they would have beaten China, and I think they lost to Sweden. They probably would have beaten Sweden as well.
mm. But even still, like don't take anything away from Fischer because like I think last World Cup he definitely impressed me, and he definitely impressed me in this World Cup as well.
Oh,
And
but
he could
the Fran,
he could be
yeah,
the friend, yeah, exactly. He could definitely be picked up for like a team if he gets for the 8 new teams he could definitely get a trial or so. Maybe he might not get it, but definitely worth giving a shot at least.
While we're talking about streamers though and making it to OWL, Calvin, I think it was Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin
who said that he was offered 150K to play in Overwatch League.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Calvin. That's Calvin. Imagine DeFran now, like a 250K maybe. If teams are willing to offer Calvin 150, DeFran, who is already who played on teams before, played on Selfless.
Actually, before you go into like just put into perspective, like Sinatra is on 150K as well.
Yeah, I believe the highest paid player unofficially is Carpe, who's making 200 something, I believe. But again, you have a different expectation of Carpe because been playing in organized environment for so long, whereas DeFran, being a streamer for as long as he has now, you're going to be getting potentially different results. So that's partly why Carpe got so much for season 1, and Sinatra as well. It's not. I don't know. I think Sinatra was overpaid.
I definitely agree with this because I think Dante impressed me a ton during Stage 2, and he really should have kept his spot, but it's a shame that you had an Architect coming in, and then you also had Baby Bay. There's just too much competition there for him.
Houston.
He went to Houston, and that was
such a good trade, dude.
The amount of times like you go online and you just see many people just begging for Dante to go on to the Outlaws. Like it's exactly what they needed, and they finally done that. It's great.
Especially with Jake probably going to be taking more of a substitution role. This upcoming season, having Dante in there is so needed. Just Dante and Linkster together is going to be a really good combo.
Yeah, it's actually going to be so underrated. I think they can definitely get a playoff spot, and they could take a few scalps, but they may not like win the league, but they'll definitely be up there competing. But
yeah, I don't really want to make any league predictions yet until we see expansion rosters, which eight additional teams, and no full roster has been filled out as of yet. There's only Vancouver, who people are saying are gonna get Runaway, which hasn't even been confirmed yet as of this recording.
Yeah, if that happens, that would be massive for the league. Absolutely massive. Oh, yeah. But like before we just move to the last qualifier and the whole bracket, like when we're talking about streamers, just briefly just talk about like Caffrey wanting to trial for DC. Um, what do you think about that?
I think PvP Twitch would have a better chance at making Overwatch League than Caffrey. I think first of all, I think they test for prescription drugs or just drugs in general in Overwatch League. So this milligrams he probably can utilize those if he wants to be playing. And he's also controversial as well. I mean, obviously, the Fran's controversial.
Yeah.
What people are controversial, but I don't know, man. Like, they don't want another Dreamcasper situation. I'm not saying that he's going
Yeah.
to
Oh,
be.
yeah. That's actually a good point. Yeah. I never thought about that, but I did hear all this talk about like how he's just taking shortcuts and all of that because he's trying to say he's not going to like get as well paid, and all the players that work hard, they have really bad salaries and stuff just to try and make it to Overwatch League. Which, yeah, like that's I can agree with XQC there. Like he's taking way too many shortcuts, but at the same time, like a lot of top players do rate him as one of the best Widow makers, but he just lacks that hero pool. So if he had a bigger hero pool, maybe,
That's the main
and that's a
thing.
slim chance
Yeah.
at that.
Whereas,
But I
like,
don't
why
know.
bring up PvP Twitch as being a better like person to pick up, even though like he's not as good on like anyone except for maybe like Junkrat, but aside from the
Yeah,
point, he has such a huge flex hero pool. He's kind of like Siegel in that way, where you can just like pick up something and just do very well with it.
yeah,
Even if he's not on like a main roster, just having him as like the scrim against constantly is just such a huge benefit, man. Like you can't go wrong with that. So
yeah. But let's just not go like too much into that. We should go back into the World Cup. So there was the France qualifiers, France and the UK.
the
I don't
crowd
really.
here, the crowd in this qualifier, bro, the best crowd for any esport event I've seen in a long time, dude. Like these French fans, super passionate,
Mm,
super loyal, very loud. Gotta love them. I'm so happy Paris has a team after this.
yeah. Speaking of crowds, though, like imagine when like the Overwatch League expands, where they actually play in these cities, where you play in the UK or you play in France. Oh boy, the crowds are going to be great, and it's gonna like put like esports out there. Like when like Overwatch League goes that far.
Yeah, honestly, I'm still not too sure about the whole home and away system we're going to have. I still think
Yeah,
that just managing that in a way that's going to make sense logistically and not burn people out, because yes, as much as we'll say this France qualifier had such amazing, fan support to maintain that, especially with a team that's not a national team, uh, it's gonna be a challenge, So how
for
how
sure.
they utilize the home and away system is gonna
I
make or break
mean,
the league.
yeah, they could just go to like the cities and play like one game, then just go to like another city, play their game, another city, one game. Because if they just play like, several games, I mean, it'd probably be unfair. You'd already have like all the games done before you go to like half the cities. That could be
Yeah,
one way to do it, but
I think they need to
yeah.
do like kind of like cities host multiple teams at one time.
Mm.
Um,
But we'll have to see when that happens. But yeah, on to the brackets. France top the group, and then UK second. We already talked
yeah,
about the crowds, but
this was such a garbage qualifier, but with the exception
yeah,
of the crowd, this was the most boring. This was like goats all the time. I mean, and it was inconsistent as well. I mean, Germany took France to a game 5 somehow.
yes, like
Which
Germany
made
impressed me in this qualifier for sure.
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, I just think that that particular match was just like what happened here. How does Germany go from being destroyed in these other
Well,
matches to taking
no.
the team that
Mhm.
would destroy the UK to a game 5? This qualifier just lacked all sorts of consistency.
Yeah,
It was so
but
weird.
but before you were like to look at this qualifier, would you like already say it to be boring before you even watch the first match? Because personally, I would have said so.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was also very obvious who was going to advance here.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of them were, with the
yeah,
exception of Thailand and
Yeah, the Thailand one was great.
and the South Korean one only because second place was up for grabs. Because if Finland had lost to Russia somehow, it would have been much more open. And I even almost expected Japan to, uh, if they had like a really
Mm.
really lucky good showing, they
Yeah.
could have done it too. But
Or what if Finland had beaten South Korea? I mean, like, there's just
well,
it could
then I
have
mean,
gone
South
anyway.
Korea is
Yeah,
not going to drop two matches though. You know.
yeah, true. But I don't really think there's much more to say on the France qualifier, so I think we should just look into the bracket
Yeah.
right now. So I have it up here, so I'm gonna like pull it up real quick. Okay, here we go. So on the left side of the bracket, we have France and Canada, China and Finland, and on the right side we have USA, UK, South Korea, and Australia. And real quick, I just want to say, like, it doesn't really matter what USA do; they're just gonna find South Korea somehow before the final. I just find that hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, and for sure. Uh, which I like, because I actually really like this bracket. The left side is stacked. The left side, you're always going to have an entertaining match. The
Hmm.
first two matches on the right side, we know who's going to win. South Korea is going to destroy. USA
Mm.
is going to destroy. And then that USA South Korea match, what we'll get into after we finish up the left side predictions, I guess.
Yeah, but
France and Canada could honestly go either way. I'm very torn. Um,
yeah, real quick, I want to say, like, I feel like if you put some teams against some teams, like, they would do well. But, like, okay, for example, let's take USA and South Korea. Like, you could probably say USA has a chance to win it. And, of course, South Korea has a chance to win it. But you put USA against, like, Canada, again, they might lose, they might win. But if you put Canada against South Korea, you feel like South Korea is going to walk all over Canada. But if you put Australia against like one team in the left bracket, you think that maybe they can win, but then those get blown out by South Korea. Like you do the bracket any other way, and you could see a completely different semifinal and final. I think.
oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And you wouldn't normally say that like the past couple of years, but I think with how like Overwatch League and all the experience people have, and how all the contenders teams players how they're doing well in the past year or so, I think really all the results can be ridiculous. Like you don't know what you're going to expect. Like some matches you can predict, but some teams you think are better than other teams, but those teams will lose to some teams, but they're better than those teams. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel it's between three teams. As much as I am Canadian, I just don't think Canada is gonna make it to the finals this year.
If they
I
do,
think,
they'll lose. I think, but
well, yeah, I think Canada v France is could go either way. I'm very torn on that one. I do have Finland beating China, and I eventually have Finland beating Sweet Finland.
yeah,
Sorry, I have Finland beating Canada or France, whoever makes it through there.
yeah, I agree.
I just think after Finland took South Korea to the limit, and
We need
especially
that
if
rematch.
If Taimu can, yeah, but well, I was going to get into that, but yeah, if Taimu plays well, if he's not old Moo, sorry, if he is old Moo, he'll click heads and he'll pop off, and
Yeah,
they have a very legitimate chance. The USA South Korea one, it, again, you're going to be in a new meta by the time BlizzCon comes around. So if it was in the current meta, there's a very legitimate chance USA could win. People are very focused on that match, and rightfully
yeah.
so.
Actually, this just came to mind. Like with all the Torb changes, Canada can win the World Cup. Just put Mangachu in.
Oh yeah,
Yes, play
sure.
Torb, win.
It's a
But
very good point.
yeah, true. But one thing I want to talk about is Australia. Like, I think if you put them against any other team in the bracket, they could have a chance to upset them, like without a doubt. Because I think some of their players are extremely underrated, and it's only because you don't see much of the Pacific scene.
They could, I don't, I don't think they could beat USA or Finland or Canada or France. Maybe China, but
Like, I think Trill is a really underrated main tank. I think if you take all the Winstons, he's probably top 3, top 4 Winstons in this bracket. Now, that might be, a bit of a ridiculous claim, but I honestly really think so. And a lot of people do think that maybe he should get a trial because he's probably the best player on that team.
China has a very, very good Winston as well, whose primal rage control was the subject of many conversations over on the competitive subreddit. Um, there's lots of good Winstons in this bracket, you know.
Yeah, a lot of good Winstons. But like just true,
But
like overall, like I just think he's a really solid main tank, and he really, you could tell like he was the standout player on that team in the qualifiers, and I think he definitely deserved the trial.
we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, we have seen Costa beat Koreans before when he played with Valiant against
Yeah.
NYXL in the that would have been the stage 4 finals, I do believe. But yeah.
Other teams to talk about again, Canada. One player I want to talk about is Crimzo. He did really well in the qualifiers, and I was looking at the subreddits, and like I'm hearing he's not having much success in finding trials.
I think his Ana is very good as well, so it's just it's very weird then for him to be in that position. Maybe there's just an overabundance of really good main support. I guess not main supports, but just like who would normally be the main support? Because it's normally the Zenyatta player would play Moira and Ana, so whereas the Lucio player would pick Mercy at a time. So,
but I mean, with Ana coming back into the meta, I mean, like,
right?
I think it's worth a shot giving like some of the players like Crimzo a trial because like you don't know how your current roster's Ana's like compare, so I don't think it's fair to.
Especially when you can have a 12-man roster, there's no reason not to pick another guy up who can
exactly
do well.
Exactly, because like let's just take Crimson for example. Like out of all the teams, I would say Outlaw should take him, and they should drop Boink because Bonnie can do a pretty decent Lucio, and there's that synergy from playing Team Canada, and they both can flex onto those like supports really well. Like Boink just feels like a Lucio one trick, and he does like those kill feeds every now and then. But is it like really necessary? Do you think having him on Outlaws and just someone like Crimzo, who's like really impressed me, and like he could definitely get a shot on the team, but like he's just not getting trials.
With Outlaws, you still have Raucus, though, right? So I don't think they're
Raucus, but
Raucus
like Crimzo is that like third support player who could play really any of those roles needed. I don't think Boink's needed, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could always get agilities and have him play Lucio. That's always an option, as we saw.
Yeah. USA, I want to talk to this one because you saw a lot of different DPS duos in this. Like, we saw Sinatra in the Doomfist, you saw Hydration on the Sombra, and whatnot. You expect, like, Hydration to play the Doomfist, maybe expect Sinatra to play Sombra. You saw Zachary do really well when he came in, and Dante didn't really get the chance to play. Like, what's going to come of this USA roster, do you think?
Well, against a lot of the teams at these qualifiers were running multi-tank as like their go-to, and Doomfist is so strong against multi-tank. Just with its ability to dislodge the shields and focus in on targets. The US has a lot of depth. Canada as well. Both Canada and USA are actually quite similar, honestly, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, you think about that. I think it's what could have left Finland down. I don't think their DPS are as flexible as Canada and USA, and even South Korea. Like, they're gonna be a dark horse, regardless.
Magnitude's hero pool is absolutely insane. Surefour's Widowmaker is like the best North American Widow in the game right now, in my opinion.
But you wouldn't have said
if this was
a
more Widow dominant meta than this. I mean, have him on Widow. He's gonna destroy Team USA. Like if they you can't Widow duel him properly if you're USA. If they were to somehow meet again, which we're not going to.
Yeah, because I think they have Zachary for Widow duty, but I don't think he's at the level of Surefour at all. So that's definitely a big
No.
gap. But what really surprised me was like Sinatra, like his hero pool, because a lot of people for so long, just saw him as that tracer specialist. But towards the end of Overwatch League, you kind of saw him flexing a bit. But like in this
Well, his
bracket, he
Zarya has
really
always
flexed
been
a lot.
really, really good too. But yeah, uh, yes, having him on the Rhine definitely came as a surprise for a lot of people. I just think it just enabled Muma a lot more to be very effective. And this isn't really an Overwatch term, but just like having your DPS on the Rhine and creating aggro, being
Yeah,
a focus, allowing the rest of your team do their jobs even more effectively. You got to give Arrow credit, for these strategies.
yeah. But side question, do you think maybe DPS Ryan possible meta in the future?
Well, I
With
mean,
like,
with his nice new barrier changes, it's you never know.
yeah, maybe. Um,
Speaking of
South
which,
Korea.
we didn't talk about this in the patch notes though, but
With,
a colorblind mode.
yeah,
Look out, guys, for this upcoming AG seasons, because we're gonna have like much nicer effects.
yeah.
You know,
Shout outs to
uh,
Truthfully Cool though. This is the buff you've always wanted.
and just regarding like the more like quality of life changes, the May Blizzard change. All right, I
Mm.
love it because it looks like a snow globe now.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's pretty cute. Yeah, but I think we should talk about South Korea.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people did criticize Fate on his main tank. Do you think that he'll be dropped like in the starting lineup?
No, well, who would they have? Do they have anybody locked in to replace them right now? Or
I can't remember
well,
off the top
no,
of
no,
my
it
head.
would be Savioli would be their seventh. I'm pretty sure.
No, but you can no. It's for the qualifiers. You can bring 7 people. For the actual World Cup, you can have your 12. I think that's how it works.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's why I was like mentioning Dante about USA because like they'll bring him in for the actual BlizzCon, which is why I was saying like it opens up a
That's
bit
weird.
more.
You would think that for BlizzCon you would want to have your seven, and for like qualifiers you would bring everybody.
Yeah, that would make more sense having the 12 in the qualifiers and 7 in BlizzCon. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of the teams now
who
and the
would
players,
who would replace Fate?
Fate. Uh, I know Excel. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I know what it is.
Is it Gesture or
Not Gesture.
Fisher or
Mono, I think it is.
Miro or not Miro? I wouldn't bring in Miro. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't.
No,
bring
it's
in Miro.
Fisher. Yeah, they're bringing Fisher on the World Cup roster. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know, man. I mean, Fisher, he might have a really hard time against Absolute Edge, but they're not playing, right? So,
Absolute Edge.
Absolute Edge, yeah.
Yeah, and they also have on the bench like Animo, Kariv, Fury, Fleta. Like I'm surprised Fleta even got that 12-man roster. Like after like the finals, you saw Profit pop off. I mean, all season I think he was overlooked, but like he was really consistent game in game out. He had not a great team around him, so it kind of covered up how well he was doing.
Oh, dude, London was London. What happened with London is they won stage one and then they just sandbagged. All right, it wasn't New York sandbagging. All right, it was London hardcore sandbagging all along. All right.
Yeah, so it's like Birdring injured his wrist on purpose. Just
of course. It's all a cover up, man. Like the coach for New York. No, but there was never a download on London. All right, London played everybody like a damn fiddle. All right, this is Metal Gear Solid style. All right, Kojima is actually the coach of London.
Yeah, but let's just not really wrap everything up, but let's just like get final predictions in. So let's just say Canada beat France. Like that's what you're going with, right?
It could go either way. It's irrelevant because I actually have Finland advancing to the finals.
I don't know about that. I do think Canada can beat Finland. That match will be really interesting if that matchup happens. The USA and South Korea one, that's probably be the match of the tournament.
Yes,
it doesn't matter
unless
what the
South
final
Korea
is.
and Finland meet each other again because, as I said earlier, that Finland South Korea game was the best game. So seeing that again,
I mean, still, I don't think it'll be as great as the first encounter. I think the teams will have learned off each other, and one team will probably blow the other out. I do think South Korea can beat Finland in that. People. I think I said it already. Like criticize Fate on its main tank, and like they have a bit of time to like fix things up. But USA, I think they can beat South Korea, but of course South Korea can beat USA. So we don't know how that's going to go.
It will depend on the map pool though, and how they plan on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Doing that. But yeah, they absolutely can. But I think map pool is going to be such a huge factor.
Yeah, I think depending whatever team faces, like each team has a chance of winning the World Cup, like between those four. So let's take Canada. Let's say they're in the final. I don't think they could beat US. No, they could beat USA, but they can't beat South Korea, in my opinion. If you have Finland in it, I don't think they could beat South Korea or do as well as the last time, but they could probably take USA.
Fair enough. I'll accept that answer. So, but you're not going for Finland. I actually made a bold prediction on Twitter, and I said that Finland was going to win it all.
You think so?
It would be an awesome story if it happened, but
yeah.
I mean, but if I take my heart out of it and I just go with my brain, it's probably going to be South Korea again because South Korea.
It's just the safest pick. But I mean, we did see in the Overwatch League, like the Korean teams did kind of drop off as the season went on. Like they're in stage 1, kind of in stage 2, but then just dropped. So. What do you think? Do you think they'll just drop off in this, or not be as strong?
I think fatigue played a pretty big factor with some of the Korean teams, and I just also think that in the end, the meta that they were in, it wasn't a very comfortable meta for Jonak, for example, on the Zenyatta, and Anna still wasn't as powerful at that point, so he was hindered in what he could play and. So I think it meta wise, if the meta remains very similar, which I think Blizzard honestly hopes it does because it's a very open meta. There's no defining feature right now.
Mm-hmm.
With more viability, there comes more options against South Korea. There's more things that you can throw at them. There's going to be more things that are effective and not just if you have to play the mirror matchup, South Korea's skill will win every single time. But when there's more variety and you can play more advantages, you can win a game of rock paper scissors. You can't win a game of rock.
I mean,
you can rock paper scissors.
I mean, a lot of teams that were running Brigida comps in the Overwatch League. I mean, the Korean teams were struggling against it. So I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily, but. With this meta,
Doug's a no-skill hero.
I mean, true, but
just win. I mean, hey, you want to win in Smash Bros? Hey, learn Bayonetta. Win Brigitte. You're gonna zero to death all these people.
But if this meta does stay how it is, this could really favor USA. But if you're saying it's a change, I mean, I think obviously you think it probably will change. It'll probably be South Korea. In that matchup,
it could also just change as far as what's viable. What more you can run. You can throw Torb things now.
Because let's not forget. I mean, they use a 12-man roster. So in USA, we haven't even seen Sleepy play, and people think that Sleepy should have got the nod over Raucus. Although Raucus did really well in the group stages, and of course Dante as well. His hero pool, he's always the best Sombra in this World Cup, but we haven't got to see it yet. So there's still a lot to come from this USA roster.
Also keep in mind, right, you're going to see what McCree changes go in, and McCree's going to be very strong, Carpe's McCree may not be the best McCree in the world, but it's a damn good McCree. Definitely maybe in the top 3 in the world,
Even Fleta is a good McCree.
It's going to be crazy. What it could,
and Sabiobi is kind of a decent McCree.
So yeah. But there's a reason why Carpe gets paid so much is because he's not the number 1 best player on these heroes he plays. he is like number 3 in the world.
Wait. Let's not forget left side bracket. You have Surefour and Taimu and those McCrees, and even Linkser and even Davin kind of. That's scary.
Oh yeah,
because like that left side of the bracket are really strong hit scan players, and if it's gonna be more hit scan favored, I mean, don't sleep on it. Like you were saying that like left side of the bracket, Finland could possibly win, and Canada could maybe do something. With those hit scan sort of favored DPS there, maybe.
oh, it's going to be crazy, man. That's why the left side is honestly it's very open ended, and as like even though I said Finland could win against every team, though, it's not a clear 100. Like I'm not 100% sure. It's like
one thing we want to talk about real quick, right, is China, because let's say if the meta does change, like with all these changes, I think China could possibly pull off the biggest upset because they'll have like their own like meta and like people won't know how to like counter it. I think because Chinese teams, I feel like they do some of the weirdest things.
well, they're fun to watch, man. But
Yeah,
in contenders, watching them, it's kind of funny though, because like all their usernames is like their team, like their clan or like team name, and then their username.
yeah,
It's very weird. But
yeah. Like you would see in the APAC tournaments, like in early Overwatch, you would have their tags in their names. Like you'd see NRG playing it, you'd see NRG Seal, NRG Gods, NRG, all that, and even C9, Surefour, and all that stuff. But that doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But yeah,
they do have some very good players who can take. We're definitely going to be in Overwatch League, like Crystal, and as I said, their Winston player whose name I don't think I can pronounce it properly, but again, like he's next level. He's very very good. Yeah, I mean, the one player who I kind of wish was on it is Eileen, who is some people think he's a bit overrated. I think he's very good. He still has a ways to improve as well because he is like just turning 18. And that's another thing with these young players. They haven't reached their max skill yet, their full potential, and it's like only having 4 pieces of Exodia. Once they get that fifth final piece, they're going to be unstoppable.
So like okay, the last thing before like wrap things up, well, 2 things. Okay, one, I was briefly saying, people like Trill and maybe Crimzo who should get picked up. Like anyone else that you can get picked up. And second thing, who would be like the breakout stars, like whether it be like the contenders players or just like even the Overwatch League players, like just breakout stars.
Yeah. So Crystal from Team China is absolutely insane. Who are you? For I think it's Fusion he was playing for. Absolutely nutty. So on Toronto Esports, you have Dalton, who he's still too young to play in Overwatch League, but his Tracer is insane, dude. His Tracer is so nutty. If he can improve his hero pool, he will be a force to be reckoned with in the future. Mark my words. We saw Ben Best on France, dude.
Like this question is like more so like directed towards like in this like World Cup, not like contenders. But like, we can talk about that like another.
Ben Best, but Ben Best for France, absolutely like he impressed me one hell of a lot. As a main tank, and again, he's number one of. I mean, see how he does against like other teams on higher skill levels than what he was competing against, but he was pretty good.
Yeah, we need to see him against XQC because, like, we were talking about that France like qualifier. It was really like mediocre, so he needs like tougher competition to see where he truly stands and if he like really does deserve a shot in our Overwatch League team. Because like there have been rumors of going on to the Paris team, which I can definitely see happening. But I mean, you just need to see like how he can compete with like the top tier main tanks like X2C and Fraggy, possibly in the semifinals if they get that far.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Gonna run by Teo for Team Japan. No, actually, never mind. Forget him. I was just gonna bring him up because his English is actually really good, so he could like fit into like a contenders team with anything, like a North American contenders team. But
actually, I'm just one thing before wrap things up about the UK team. I was really surprised more the British Hurricane didn't get on that team. Like Fusions, I think he's much better than Christopher and Numlocked. And I was surprised you even get on that team.
Christopher looked utter trash. I'm like, I don't want to be rude, but I mean,
Mm.
dude, like, go home. I mean,
Like,
this was an embarrassing performance by him.
I think Christopher is better than Numlock, and the fact Numlock was on the Overwatch League, and people really want fusions on that team. Like, man, just put Fusion on that team, put him in the Overwatch League, just do something with fusions. Like, he deserves more.
Yeah, especially when you already have like people who do play together or scrim together like constantly. There's going to be like that chemistry that's already preformed, which you cannot like. That's another reason why France was so good. I mean, how much of that roster already played together with Rogue?
Yeah,
You had
X Rogue, and you just throw in Poco and Bembest in there.
oh yeah, so you had Unko, you had Soon, you had Unko. By the way, man, just really quick, talk about that trade that Dallas made. Custa for Unko, what a fantastic trade for both teams.
Yeah, like it took a while, but for like Dallas especially, but you could really see like why they brought in Oko. Like after that time, like if they could have like kept Custon, and gone Unco, I mean that would have been great. And same for the both teams, really. If they had both Custa and Unco, it's a shame they can't have both. But
I think
these are
Custa's a bit overrated, honestly. I think Dallas may have slightly won that trade. I think Custa's a bit disposable. Honestly, I think he's still a good player. On the Lucio and on the Mercy, but I just think with Unco as that main support, he's good on the Zen. He can run the Ana and the Moira. Pretty good pickup. Real like
don't need it as much.
I like having. I was honest to God, dude. I was one click away from buying a Rogue Unco jersey at one point, but the site wasn't working properly, so that's why I don't have an Unco jersey at the moment for Rogue, which would have been better than a Dallas Fuel um, Jack in the Box jersey. But I digress. But that's another reason why I do have France beating Canada, though, which is because that built-in chemistry that they already have is
Mm.
you can't really oversell that. It's such a big factor.
Yeah, like the everything was like this. So you're saying that France can beat Canada because of that chemistry? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's another reason why Brazil was able to do as well as they did against Canada and USA, despite only winning one map against USA.
But the
Um,
thing I find about Canada, like are like all friends with each other, like really good friends with each other, and they like enjoy playing with each other. Like I would say
yes,
more than majority of the teams.
people. Yeah, they do. They do definitely get along, and but that doesn't always translate to chemistry. I mean, we did see
I mean, it
um,
helps for sure.
Surefour and Note combo very well with EMP bombs.
Mm.
Um,
And they don't really play together, but I feel like there's like that really like strong spirit in that Canada camp, and like scrims the next few months. That's why I'm like really putting Canada up there. Like they can definitely be in the final, but I just don't think they can beat South Korea. But they can definitely take USA because I think USA and Canada are like really similar, and like every time we've seen them against each other, it's been like relatively close.
yeah, I would put USA as winning as like a 70 to
Yeah,
30 in USA's favor, but
yeah,
yeah,
I agree with that. Or maybe even 65-35. Edges more towards USA, but there's definitely the possibility of Canada. But you look at South Korea in there, probably like a 90-10.
yeah, yeah. Even like USA against South Korea, it's honestly like an 80-20, but still that 20, it's a big 20.
Yeah.
Like,
But anything else World Cup related, like in terms of like players, like it's gonna be like a breakout star in this World Cup, like out of the contenders players that are playing, like or even just general.
oh,
Who's
wow,
like stand out?
it really will depend on how far they get. Ben Best, honestly, man,
Mm-hmm.
if he's really the only one. I mean, aside from like China, if they do really well, and you have like Crystal and the Winston player do well. Um, aside from that, like players who are going to advance, um, those are the ones I can really think of because
I mean, there's still like contenders players like on like some of the other rosters with the Overwatch League players, and then like even in those 12-man squads
I
that
mean,
never got.
Crimzo, as you were saying, yeah, he could. Crimzo's another one.
Let's not forget about Zachary as well, because I think he'll be 18 by the time Overwatch League starts.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I don't see him having a breakout performance when you have the likes of Hydration and Sinatra in that roster.
But then again, like he's like the only player that can really play like the Widowmaker role. Because I mean, I don't see like Dante like learning in the next couple of months. I mean, you see him on stream; he's always playing anything but the Widow.
Yeah, but he could have a decent Widowmaker performance against who we're playing in the first round again. It's
UK.
yeah, I mean, well, it's going to be a dominant, showing. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, but if he plays Widow against South Korea and then against whoever they play in the finals, if they manage to beat South Korea, he's going to be losing that Widow duel. And if Widow is meta, then it's going to favor South Korea hardcore again because Carpe is going to destroy him. Carpe is going to shit all over him. It's not even going to be close.
Yeah, and then of course, I mean, then again, there is Shift on the inside the bracket, and he did win that Widow 1v1 tournament. I mean, that it was headshots only and not in an actual game setting, because like you can play Widowmaker different in a 1v1 than you can like a game setting. Because I mean, I know this is console Overwatch, but like if I put in a 1v1 against someone, I could probably beat them, but I can't do anything whatsoever in a game. But like those Widows could carry a game.
Absolutely.
But if it comes to breakout stars, I mean, he's kind of already a star at the moment, but I think he's going to like further his stardom. I think it's just going to be Space in Team USA, because he really is carrying that USA roster, and I think he's carrying that Valiant roster. And he's still like only 18. Like he'll turn 18 in the middle of the Overwatch League. It's actually kind of scary, I think.
Oh, and by the same contrast, you could say Note for Team Canada. Also on
no.
the Diva. I mean,
I think
like
people don't realize how good Note is.
Yeah, he's insane.
Yeah, I think it's to be like the off tanks that are gonna like stand out then, and of course, well, Trill in my opinion for Australia, even though they're gonna lose that first match, I think he can put up a good showing against like Fate or Fisher. Yeah,
also,
I don't know if this...
Fate looked pretty good on Wrecking Ball as well, actually, in the qualifier, which was kind of surprising considering how new he was at that time.
Yeah, and Fate, I mean, I think people thought he was like the best Orisa in Overwatch League, so he's like good at those like niche main tanks.
XQC is a very good Orisa as well.
Yeah, that too.
His Orisa is actually like nutty, man. Like
yeah.
He might be
Fate,
like
Fate and XQC are the best two Orisas by far. Those two stand out. But yeah, anything else on the World Cup that you really want to touch on?
No,
I don't have anything.
So, do you have any like final predictions you want to just make? Like if you have like one guess, who do you say is going to win it all?
I mean, I already said like the possible winners if he had those specific matchups. Like Finland could probably.
And I said, who's going to win? Or I'm going to pull the trigger. Then you would say. If I had a gun in my head, I would say South Korea, but my heart says Finland. But
yeah, I think I would say the winner will be on the right side of the bracket. That's all I can really say.
That's a very fair, almost cheating response, but I'll accept it.
All right. But yeah, anything else? Like any final words? Or
no, I think we're good.
All right. Well, I guess that concludes the first edition of the AG podcast with Elp and Mazza and Dylan, but he's long gone now. But it was nice having him around, and thank you all for tuning in. And we'll produce more of these in the near future, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, weekly. Like we'll see in due time. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the near future.
Peace out. See you.